Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where creatives share their stories. My name is Galina Marquez, and I have another cool story prepared for you today, so let's get to it. Hello everybody and welcome to a fourth season of In the Art Scene podcast. And in the first episode, I actually have a very interesting person that I am so lucky to know in person. Her name is Judy Salinsky, and she is a local artist in San Diego County. I have known Judy since probably 2018. We used to belong to the same gallery. And Judy, not only she has a very interesting story as an artist with incredible experiences with the people she used to work with. But today I also want to focus with her permission on some of the aspects of her personal story and how it connected and affected her creative life as well. So Judy, why wouldn't you start by introducing yourself to people who are listening to us who
Hi,
don't know
everyone.
you?
Hello.
Hi.
Galina, nice to see you again in person and hear your nice voice.
Nice to see you too. It's been a while.
Oh, introduce myself. Well, let's see. I was part of an art community, art guild for 12 years, and I took the big step and leaped out of the community art guild and ventured out with a lot of determination to find a new path. And it took 5 years, but I did it.
How long have you been an artist?
I have been creative my entire life as an artist, feeling comfortable about creating and making a few bucks here and there, maybe 15 years. I wasn't one of those people that said, "Oh, I'm going to grow up and be an artist," because my father wanted me to be a secretary. And back then, no one knew what learning disabilities were, but I couldn't spell and I couldn't type. So he tried his best, but it just didn't work. And within time, he realized I could draw plenty of pictures, and I love color. And I was very creative in many aspects. And he finally realized I was not going to be a corporate secretary.
So he agreed with your decision to become an artist, and then did you go to the college for that?
No, he didn't agree to it at all because he didn't want me to starve like so many parents say, you become an artist, you're not going to be able to have health insurance or retirement. So I worked part-time in the grocery industry for 25 years off and on. And I thought, okay, well, if you don't think I can be an artist, I'll be a professional dancer.
Well, that's something I didn't know about you. Okay.
So I took dancing late in life, and I ended up going to UC Irvine, and I studied to be a professional dancer, going to Las Vegas and making it to the stage in Radio City Music Hall in New York City. And I was tall with my dancing shoes on. I was 6'2" and I weighed 117. I thought I was the badass until I got to New York and saw 400 other beautiful 6'2" girls that were prettier than I was. And I was on the stage and I got stage fright. So I walked off the stage.
Oh, so you didn't do it?
Didn't do it. I danced a little bit in Las Vegas, but the girls were either drinking Coca-Cola or snorting Coke to stay awake and try to keep up the fast pace. And I decided that that was going to kill me. So I quit and came home and went back into the industry that I hated, the grocery store. And I got hurt, and I went back to school to become, I thought, a physical therapist, but my friends were getting A's in physics and calculus, and I was in the library crying because I couldn't do it. So I turned my energy to being a personal trainer because I had damaged my body from the grocery store and dancing. I needed to come up with something to make a living. So I went back to school and I became a trainer, and I always took art. And then lo and behold, the Apple computer came out, and I thought, wow, instead of drawing, I decided I would become a graphic artist. And 25 years ago, my monitor was 75 pounds.
Wow.
And I had 4 external hard drives and 30 floppy disks to start Illustrator. And my desk was actually a door, and it was filled with computer equipment. And I got hired by Long Beach VA as an assistant art director because the art director didn't know anything about the designing on the computer. So I helped him for a while, and they gave me a per diem, which means they give you money for a hotel. And I ended up staying on the Queen Mary, which was an absolute fabulous experience because Queen Mary was sailing during the late 20s and 30s, and it was all Art Deco.
Oh, I love Queen Mary.
I pretended like I was a movie star in a gown drinking champagne at the end of the ship. And I did that for a few months, and I wanted to smell turpentine again. I wanted to get dirty. I wanted to be around chalk. And so I started to take lots of life drawing, and I was honored to take classes with Sebastian Capella, who is a master from Spain. And I learned color theory. And in order to advance in his class, you had to do this perfect color wheel that when you took the camera and shot it in black and white, it would show a perfect grayscale in your warm colors and your cool colors. And you weren't allowed to move on to still life painting until you got that color wheel right.
Wow. That's tough.
So, yes, it was very tough. And I took 12 years of life drawing because I knew that if I was going to be a professional artist, that anybody who would want to buy my art would know about perspective and value and composition and color theory, because that was the level that I wanted to reach. So I continued to practice before I told anybody that I was an artist, and I was not going to sell a painting until I was satisfied with reaching that expectation.
I have a question for you before we move forward with that story. When you stayed at Queen Mary, have you seen a ghost?
Yes. I did not see her, but I had the champagne in the bar with the bartender who was there in the 40s. He was very old and very wise. And he told me, I forgot the ghost's name. And he says, oh, you'll probably meet her. I says, well, I believe in spirits. And he said, well, don't be surprised. And I was below deck going to my room. And I heard footsteps behind me. And I turned around and there wasn't anybody there. And I thought, oh, somebody must have just gone into their stateroom. I kept walking and I heard it again. I turned around and there wasn't anybody there. And I got goosebumps and I thought, okay, she's coming by to visit me. And I asked her permission to be on her ship. And that was my experience with the spirit. Yes, I definitely heard the spirit of the ship.
Wow. That's interesting. When we went to visit Queen Mary, we just toured for a day. We heard stories about few different personalities, few different ghosts, but it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. I probably would have jumped off that ship if I were you.
I have spirits visit me all the time. I love it. I talk to my spirits all the time. They've actually, my spirits have helped me get to this point in my art because of an incredible woman. Her name is Corrine, and she's a medium and a psychic, and she's probably the best psychic I've been to in 50 years. And everything she said has been right on, and it's pretty amazing.
All right. Well, we took a little bit of a sidewalk from your story. So let's get back to your story and let's get back to you studying. So while you were studying so hard, you continued working as a graphic designer. Is that correct?
Yes. And a personal trainer.
So you had two jobs.
Yes.
So
yes.
When did you reach the point when you felt like you are satisfied enough with your skills that you could, go and publicly call yourself a professional artist?
I still do not call myself a professional artist because I believe having that title means you can make a living off of being an artist. And I truly believe that's probably 1% of the population who can actually make a living off of being a professional artist. I consider myself an artist, and I think to this day, I'm grateful that my father told me to keep working because I also taught at the college and I had a degree, and that gave me more income to teach art and to teach my exercise classes. I got the job teaching art just by, I can't say by accident. I think it was meant to be. Somebody was sick and somebody said, oh, Judy knows how to draw. So the next thing I had to do is I read maybe 10 books on how to set up a beginning drawing class, because in my mind was fluttering like a butterfly and I needed to set some type of structure to teach other people. I knew it all, but there's no way I could enter a classroom and say, okay, today we're going to do this without some structure, because I was all over the place. So I found an excellent book on how to draw, and I followed the curriculum of the chapter, and I told the students that this book is like the Bible, and I taught for 12 years at Palomar, and I did make a living teaching. I made excellent money because I had a degree and because I had a background. And I did not have a master's, but because I had so many years of experience, I was able to get a full-time job at the college, teaching in the department called community ed.
I didn't know about that either. I had no idea that you were teaching. If I knew, well, I would have taken your classes, because you're an amazing artist. I understand your your conflict with calling yourself a professional artist that is linked to, making a full-time income from selling art, etc. But I would argue that you are a professional with all your experience, and even teaching art is still being in the art industry, and you are a high-level professional. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, yes, I admire you a lot. And
thank you so much.
And now, you mentioned at the beginning that you were a professional dancer. So now I understand, because I remember a couple years ago, you were working with the ballet dancers, and you were making absolutely amazing bronze casting sculptures of ballet dancers. Yes.
Yeah.
And now I connect the dots. Now I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a cosmic experience right before COVID. I was on the escalator and I saw this big poster saying tribute to David Bowie with this ballet troupe from New York. I had no idea what to expect. The ballet troupe was called Complexions. I did not understand this title. I just thought, okay, it's a tribute to David Bowie. I'm going to go. And I went by myself. And it was probably the second dance concert I went to since I got hurt, because every time I try to go to a ballet or a dance concert, I would start to cry because I would want to be up on that stage, and I was just an emotional wreck. So I think it was maybe 15 years I hadn't gone to a ballet. Wow. So I get there, and when I danced in the 80s and before, ballet, as you may have read, was only done by short, white, petite young ladies, because those are the ones they could go up in the air and spin around. And if you were 2 shades darker than white, you have to go into modern dance. If you were darker skin, you had to go with Avenelli, because that was the only black dance troupe at the time. And if your pirouette wasn't perfect, you go into modern dance or whatever. So it was very strict. And God forbid if you were gay, you don't tell anybody that you're gay. So, of course, everybody I danced with was gay, and we had to go to underground dance clubs because you weren't allowed to talk about if you were gay. So before COVID, I went to this concert, and the curtain opened up, and I just started to cry. I saw every nationality up on the stage doing physical things with their body, bigger than life pirouettes, larger than 180 extension, grand jetés, which is jumping across the stage. I saw gay, black ballet dancers on point. And I just about flipped. I was so excited. And I was watching these beautiful people dance with such grace and passion. I kept reading in the brochure, and I learned about how they put the tags for Instagram after their bio in the pamphlet. So I get home and I wrote to one of the dancers. His name was Maxfield. And I said, "You are the most beautiful human being I've ever seen on point. And I want to do a bronze relief sculpture of you." And he was so excited. And he was in New York, and I am in San Diego. And we communicated through Instagram. And then COVID hit. And between the two of us trying to survive COVID, we said, this is going to get us through COVID because it's going to keep us happy and positive, and this is going to be our creation to survive. And I worked on it, and it was coming along, and then I got hit with lung cancer again. It was the second fight of lung cancer, and Maxfield was right there, and he goes, we're going to keep doing the sculpture where we're going to work together, and you're going to get through this. And it was on the 3rd of February 1 year ago that I finished my chemo. So that was my surviving the cancer, was Maxfield talking to me and connecting with my passion of dance.
Well, that was a very unexpected connection between two stories, because that was about I was about to start asking you questions about that experience. I had another question, because you were a multimedia artist and you are making bronze sculptures that are absolutely amazing. But since we started talking about the cancer story, let's continue with that, because that is something that again, I didn't know about until very recently. And I had no idea that not only you have suffered a lot through this, but that it's also not the first time. So, and I know that it takes. I have friends who have gone through various types of cancers, and I know that it's incredibly difficult to keep the spirits up, to find the community, to find something that is keeping you alive and motivated. Obviously, for you in this second round, it looks like Maxwell and the sculpture was something that kept you going. If I am incorrect, please correct me. But the spirit with which you are talking about it in your social media, and the year in recovery, the amazing things that you are showing, going through lung cancer into open water swimming, being active, creating amazing art continuously, that is just blowing my mind constantly. Because to me, it looks like you need to have so much strength and so much life and so much spirit in you to go through this and inspire other people. Because it's not like, I would imagine that I would just go dormant and completely in the survival mode. You are managing to inspire a lot of people.
Actually, this has been my third fight with cancer. My first fight was, I was only 39. And I have the passion for life because my mother is a very passionate person about simple things. The ocean, the flowers, animals, your friends, good food, lots of love, lots of support, turning off the negative, no news, God forbid, especially now. Don't watch the news. You have to live in the here and now. And I had to go through counseling for that, because when you're 39 and you have this, it's like, okay, I'm going to kick this and I'm going to be stronger and better than ever. And I truly, truly, truly believe is stress, because I was training for 2 marathons and a New Year's day, I was called in the office in the grocery store, and they told me I was laid off after 17 years. And it's because they had moved the boundaries of personnel, and I was the least of seniority. Everyone else had 20 years and more. So they said, okay, we need to lay you off. So I was laid off on New Year's Day and March the 3rd. In February, I did the 2 runs, and March the 3rd, I ended up having cancer. And I know it was stress. It was stress because I was pushing my body for training, and then I could lose my job. And thank goodness I was able to get disability, and most of my bills were covered because I had insurance. And I know in the United States, it's very difficult and it's sad because we don't have social medicine, but that's a whole nother story. I had insurance. I made it, and I thought I was going to be a badass and everything was going to be fine. And then all of a sudden, 4 years ago, I kept coughing. I was having bronchitis for off and on for like 5 years. I kept coughing and coughing. And my mom's like, why are you coughing? And I thought, oh, it's the milk. Oh, it's dairy. Oh, it's dust. Oh, working in the foundry with the chemicals, or the silicone starts cancer, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. And I ignored it. And then they kept giving me antibiotics and nothing worked. And I call her my angel because the coughing got so bad. My mother and my husband said, you need to go back to the doctor. And this beautiful young lady doctor, she did a full scan of my lungs, and she saw a starburst in my lung. And she says, oh, well, that could be infection. It could be scar tissue, but we got to check it out. So to make a long story short, it turned out to be cancer. And there was 2 tumors in they call it the middle lobe on the right side. So your right side of your lung has 3 lobes. The left side has 2 lobes. So I went in and I thought, okay, they ought to take my second lobe out. And this is the end of this. After this, I'll be fine. No problem. And of course, when the phone rings at 9:00 at night and they tell you, oh, the lab report came back, you have cancer. I'm getting a call. Okay. I'm sorry about that. The call came, and I'm not going to lie. When the call came, I took a pillow, put it over my face, screamed and cried for an hour saying, this can't be. What have I done? Why is God doing this to me? God damn it. I have to fight this again. And the shitty thing that took place was it was supposed to be in the hospital for a week, but my lung, the anatomy is you have to heal that area so the other lung fills up with air to breathe. What was happening was my lung was not filling up, and the air was going into the cavity of my body. And it was called crepitus. And I ended up being in the hospital for 22 days because I couldn't heal. And that was a head trip. So I don't want to spend time going into that, but you find things in the hospital to keep your mind occupied. I ended up counting the slats up on the ceiling and counting and seeing how far I could walk in the first day, see how far I could walk in the second day. And the doctor came to me and says, if everybody had your motivation to get out of this hospital would be empty, because I would unplug my chest tube, put it on a portable tank, put it on a walker, and I was only able to walk 3 hospital rooms. Then I had to turn around because I was tired. But I kept doing it every single day. Every single day, I walk 3 more steps, 4 more steps. And I thought, I'm going to walk around this hospital, a wing. I wasn't allowed to leave my wing. Every day I have to do a walk because I realized how weak I was. So I just determined. I walk by the other people. All they're doing is laying in a bed with the remote control, drugged out of their mind, watching TV. And I'm like, I want to go outside and smell the flowers and get out of this air conditioning, sterile environment. I want to go play in the dirt. I want to get my feet wet in the ocean. I want to play with my cat. I have to have my strength. And all those things was my motivation to get my strength back. Then I started, I couldn't go in the water because of my surgery, but my husband got me walking sticks that people use for hiking. And I walked 3 houses down and I walked back, and then I had to sleep for 2 hours. But every single day I did more and more. That was 4 years ago. And then this shit came back. And the doctor said, we have to take your 3rd lobe. And I says, no way. Because I could tell I was having a problem breathing. So thank goodness to the angels, I made a call to my girlfriend who's a doctor back in Harvard. And I learned about Dana-Farber cancer research. And you pay, I think it was $800 for a second opinion. And because my girlfriend was a doctor, she says, this is what you need. And this was all during COVID. You send them your labs, you send them the x-ray, you send them the PET scan, you send them everything, and they read it. And because of the COVID, we did my first Zoom meeting with 4 oncologists in Boston. And they said, no, Judy, you do not need to have your lung removed. You need a partial, get that tumor out of there. And we advise chemo. So once again, the angels followed me. And then I was supposed to start chemo on a Monday. And I was reading about this chemo, and it was absolutely devastating. It was terrible, 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 terrible side effects. And I mean, things that, just crazy stuff. And I thought, how am I going to get through this? And at 8:30 that night, my oncologist called me and says, we are going to change your chemo. We don't think you need that strong drug. We're going to give you more different drugs that aren't so bad. And I thought, once again, I have an angel protecting me. And I went through the chemo again. And I purposely went to Target and bought the Mickey Mouse t-shirt and Mickey Mouse pants. And I brought colors for everybody in the room and paper. And before they hooked me up, because you have to sit there for hours, and I gave everybody colors, and some colored, some watched me, some couldn't believe I was actually going through chemo, and was so positive and motivating. And there are a lot of people that have one foot in the grave through this, and it's hell. But what is the alternative? To have one foot in the grave, or fight for every inch of life that you have so you can enjoy planting flowers or painting a painting or getting back in the ocean? So my husband bought me an iWatch, and I learned how to use the workout app in the different workout, and I just ran yesterday 3 miles, and I look back 1 year ago and I noticed I cut 2 minutes off of each mile.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I am a badass again.
Let's take a short coffee break. Are you enjoying this episode? If you do, would you buy me a coffee? I would really appreciate it. The link is in the show notes and on our website, intheartscene.com. Thank you for your support. You drew during your chemo procedures.
I didn't draw. I did not draw. I colored. Took colors, and I colored with colors and crayons and just made pretty colors. I did not have any motivation to do any type of what would it be? Serious artwork. I had no motivation, and I was really worried. I thought, where is my motivation? Where's my passion for drawing and doing my art and doing my sculpture? And why don't I feel like doing a painting? And I talked to the counselors. I went through counseling, and they said, Judy, when you're going through such a survival mode, all your energy and your mind is on surviving and fighting. And the motivation to create something serious, it was not there at all. I just played with colors.
It's understandable, but the interesting thing is that you craved colors. What did it do to you? Did it make you feel better? Did it cheer you up?
Oh, yeah. The colors made me happy. And I learned that violet is a healing color, and red gives you strength. You never paint with black. Blue is calming. So I didn't make anything serious, but the colors helped. The colors helped me. And then the counselor taught me to do doodles. So I took a pen and I just started doodling. I thought, this is stupid. I don't doodle. But all of a sudden I was making little flowers, little leaves and petals and little cat. And all of a sudden things were starting to come out of my doodles.
Yeah, I know. I do it sometimes too. It's very meditating.
Yeah.
And I know that they use it actually. There's an exercise called Zentangles. So it's like you're splitting the sheet of paper into different sections, and you fill the different section with different kind of doodles. And it's a very common exercise in the art therapy. It is really putting your mind in a totally different state, and it's so fun.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So I did have professional help getting through this. It's not like I'm superwoman thinking I can fight it again. I was an emotional wreck. Maybe 6 months I didn't sleep very well. I wake up thinking I was back in the hospital, thinking I still had tubes in my side. So professional, I can't stress enough when you're feeling not so good to seek professional help, because they teach you things that you didn't know. You think you know everything when you're 65 years old, and you don't. And you're eye awakening when someone says, oh, try this, and you listen to them and you bow down to them because they actually helped you.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for professional mental health as well. I've been in the therapy for a long time, and I actually have a degree in it. And it is something that despite circumstances, everyone just needs, like we all need wellness check, and we all need to eat healthy. We also need to keep our psyche healthy. So
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, it is totally understandable that, of course, going through a third round of fighting cancer, going through chemo, you were not motivated for any serious artwork, creating any serious artwork. But at some point, at what point did you get back to it?
I started during the COVID. I started to just Google things on the internet about art. And then all of a sudden, I found this beautiful artist from the Netherlands. And he painted the most beautiful skies and clouds I've ever seen. And I watched, he's got YouTube videos. And I'm not going to even try to pronounce his name. I'll send you it because it's Dutch. But I watched his videos, and he had instruction about the colors he used and step by step. And I kept watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And he was the one that hit the switch. And I got very small canvas, and I had some of his colors, not all of them, but I tried a little painting. And John, my husband, took me for a walk down at the beach when the wind, kite surfers were out, and it was windy and the sails were out. And I took all these pictures, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to try this little painting with the sky. And I wrote him, and he wrote me back, and I told him what I'd gone through. And he says, I know how you feel. I've had heart surgery. And for 1 year, I could not create a painting either. He says, it will come. Just keep playing with small paint, small canvas. Just keep doing little small things. And I did a small thing, and then I got stronger in the swimming pool. I was swimming a little bit further. And then all of a sudden, I was able to swim a mile in the pool. And I thought, I'm going to start swimming with my group in the ocean. We are swimming 3 times a week in the ocean, and when the water gets warmer. So I'm swimming, and I used to be a competitive swimmer, and I was always in the middle, or never at the very front, but close to the front, because I did triathlons long ago when it was only $7. And I couldn't keep up. And I had a swimming buddy, and she knew what I'd gone through. She was with me 4 years ago, the first bout. And she said, we're going to get through this, and I'm going to swim with you. Well, she's so damn fast. She would swim a circle around me, do 100 strokes, come back and get me, and swim another circle around me. But she was always with me in the ocean, and everybody was so supportive. So when I turned my head to take a breath, all I was saying, I was looking at the clouds, looking at the color, thinking, what color is that? And I'm going to use that in the painting. And I kept looking at the sun. Okay, I see a sky blue. I see blue violet. I see a little gray. There's a little bit of orange. And there's a cast of this, a cast of that. And instead of focusing on getting to the halfway point, I've composed an entire painting in my head with a perfect palette.
Wow.
And that's when the switch came back on, and I told everybody, oh my God, did you see that cloud? It was like silver, but silver is like really violet, and it's got a little pink in it, and it's got yellow in it. And then I came home, and I started painting those.
So swimming actually helped you get back to painting.
It sure did.
Wow. Wow. Well, that is something that I haven't heard yet in this podcast. We have heard all kinds of stories, but that is actually very interesting.
One other thing that happens when your face is in the water in California, it doesn't happen very often, but we get some good visibility, and you see the kelp, and you see that gold Garibaldi, and the kelp moving, and the beautiful color, the emerald green seagrass moving, and the reef. I took all that and I made an underwater painting with stingrays in it on a commission. This girl said, "I want you to do an underwater painting for me." I'm like, I don't have an underwater camera, but I do know when I'm swimming, I see all this. So I just started little drawing, and its drawing gets bigger, and then I took smaller canvas, 8x10, and I did this painting, and the painting turned out to be 5 feet, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And to this day, I still don't know how I painted that Garibaldi, because she's beautiful. And then I thought, well, what the heck? I think I'll do a bronze sculpture of the Garibaldi. So I grabbed the kelp on the beach. I took it to the foundry and I dipped it in wax, and I created a mold. And the owner of the foundry is like, "What is she doing?" And he's never saw anybody with a hair dryer and kelp, shaping the kelp to make it look like it's moving. And yeah, so then that's how I made the Garibaldi.
Wow. Well, tell me a little bit how you got into the bronze sculpture, because we've been talking about drawing and coloring and all that stuff, but all of a sudden you're talking about your experience after being free of cancer, swimming, making paintings, and then the sculpture. So how's that come? I know that you trained in it, right?
I never went to professional art school. I never had the money to do that. But while I was in school studying to be the personal trainer, I would walk by this area called the Foundry, and I had no idea what that was. But I would see the furnace and the heat and the fire, and I'd go watch the other furnace. They were blowing glass, and the colors and the excitement and the noise. I just loved it. And my father was a draftsman and a machinist. He's very meticulous. And when he retired, he built beautiful trains with exotic wood and model trains, and got blue ribbons and best of show, and the LA Fair, Orange County Fair, San Diego Fair for 6 years. And I knew someday I would do something three-dimensional, but I didn't know what. And then my daddy died. And I thought, okay, I try to go into the wood working, and I was an emotional wreck. I couldn't get around a saw. I couldn't even smell the wood because I kept thinking of my father. But I read about this class called Introduction to Sculpture. And Helen Wilson, who taught at Palomar, was my lady to look up to. We learned to make things out of different types of material, and I was having a blast. I learned about you take an object and you create it out of something else to give the illusion that it's the other object. So I took my father's wooden car that he built out of wood, and I carved it out of foam. And I took Martha Stewart has some paint that looks like wood, and I sanded the car so it was completely smooth, and made this perfect replica of Daddy's wooden car out of foam with the wheels. And the next one was even better. And then it was time to do a life sculpture. And I wanted to be the guinea pig. So they put the material, the casting material on my face and part of my hair. And they go, okay, we're going to make a bronze sculpture out of your face. So I made a video and I named it How to Make a Mermaid Mask. And I took the ladies in the class took photographs of each step so people can understand the process and how long it takes and why bronze costs so much money because of all the work is involved. So they did a casting of my face and we did a wax. We made a mold. We poured the melted bronze at 2100 degrees into the mold. I polished it all up and I had my first bronze sculpture. And I put seashells on the top, so I looked like a mermaid. And I fell in love with it. And that was the beginning of my joy of making bronze. And it's only been 6 years. And my big sculpture was nominated to enter into the first National Sculpture Society California Art Show in New York City. And my piece got to go to New York.
That's a beautiful piece.
I
remember it. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. The stingrays?
Stingrays, yeah.
Yeah.
With the kelp that I took the hair dryer to shape.
Well, I will make sure to post all the pictures and all the links about things that we were talking about, so people have an idea of exactly what artworks you're referring here to. But yeah, this is an amazing story. Amazing story.
Oh, thank you.
I was under impression ever since I met you that you had an MFA and you have been a professional artist all your life, and you are so accomplished and you are so famous that, you know, it's like I was at first a little intimidated even talking to you.
Oh gosh.
So
all I am is a hustler. My mother told me when one door shuts, tell them to jump off a cliff and go to the next door, and that's what I did. And the same with I remember you talking to me, and I thought, wow, she's so creative. That painting with the buttons, I was just like blown away. And I thought, if anybody is unique and creative as you, and I just and you had a very, very successful graphic design background, and I can understand perfectly why you get burned out on that. It's fun getting dirty and smelling the turpentine. And when I tried to get into different galleries, I got ripped off. Someone sold one of my pieces for under the price that I asked for, and they lied. They don't call you. They tell you you're great, and they don't call you back. I said to myself, why don't you just say no thank you instead of, oh yeah, don't call us, we'll call you. And that went on for 5 years. And then all of a sudden Instagram had one lady kept saying, oh, I love your things, I want you to come to the gallery. And I'm like, if that's not cosmic. 2 days after I left the other place that we were both in, she wanted all my art, all my sculptures, and that was the Corner Frame Shop in Leucadia Art Gallery. And I'm in the window. I have a full wall, all my things. And then it's all networking. You never know. You never, ever, ever know. Sitting in the pancake house, and this lady was dressed up, and the daughter was there, and we were both the same age. And I asked her if I could take a picture of her mommy because she looked like a glamour movie star. She says yes. The next thing I know, she said, you need to call so-and-so and talk to this person. And the other person says, I'm going to introduce you to so-and-so. And that opened up the door to having my sculptures right on Main Street in Catalina Island.
Wow.
On Avalon. Then driving up the Central Coast, and 6 years ago, trying to get into a very famous town called Cambria. The lady had no clue about the internet. She loved my stuff. She says, oh, you're not making them in Mexico. You're making them yourself in California. I want you. I don't do internet. Send me 8x10 glossy. Didn't hear from her. And then 4 months ago, because I was doing the sculpture in Berkeley, which is near San Francisco, I drive up the coast and down the coast, and I stopped and found out that the gallery that I talked to this lady, she sold it to another lady. And I walked in, and the lady says, well, I only take calls by appointment. I says, okay, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. And she's like, well, what do you do? I said, I do sculpture. She goes, I can make time for you. Because of COVID, so many people had left the gallery, and because the shipping costs so much, there's not very many local people that do what I do. And because she's on the coast, I showed her my stuff, and she wants everything. So I have 3 galleries that want my work, and it took about 7 years. And I tell people, you have to be professional. Your work has to look as professional as possible, because the people that buy art have money and are educated and have a good eye, or they have money and they have no taste and they buy a pretty picture for their couch, whatever. It's called sofa art. And that's fine if that's what they want, if it makes them happy. If the piece of art makes them happy, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. So, but to do things at a certain level, I truly believe that you have to educate yourself to get to that point, to market yourself in a different price point. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I feel like it's not going to be long for you to start calling yourself finally a professional artist. look at everything you have accomplished. Now, 3 galleries. Your work deserves more than that. I can tell you. And again, I will make sure to put the links to all the galleries. So whoever is traveling to Cambria or Catalina Island, or local people here in San Diego County, can visit and check out what you have on display, because it is absolutely worth it. Guys, if you are looking for any local adventure and some inspiration, you can go to the museum, but yeah, you better go to some local galleries and look at Judy's work because it is absolutely stunning. We're at the top of the hour, and I just wanted to thank you so much for taking this time talking to me and sharing your absolutely amazing roller coaster story, so vulnerable and so open and so inspiring. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Galene. It's wonderful to see you again and to speak with you.
Yes, not the last time, I hope.
Okay. Take care, my dear.
You too, Judy. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time in the art scene. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple. And go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.